Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 18 female, am facing a dilemma that's tearing me apart, and I could really use some advice. When I was just 10 years old, tragedy struck my family. My parents were killed in a car accident, leaving my older brother Jack and me to navigate the world alone. Jack, being 8 years my senior, took on the role of both brother and parent, guiding me through the toughest moments of my life. He's been my rock, my support, my everything. When I was 17, I found out I was pregnant. It was a devastating shock, especially since my boyfriend at the time decided to bail as soon as he heard the news. I felt scared and alone, but I made the decision to keep the baby. I couldn't bear the thought of terminating the pregnancy, and I knew I wasn't ready to be a parent. Instead, I made the difficult decision to give the baby up for adoption once she was born. It was a heartbreaking choice, but I believed it was the best option for both me and the baby. My brother and his wife, Emily, 38 female, have been struggling with infertility for years. They've gone through numerous rounds of IVF and fertility treatments, but nothing has worked. When my sister-in-law found out I was pregnant, she came to me with tears in her eyes and asked if they could adopt the baby. She said it would be a dream come true for them to finally become parents. I was over the moon. The thought of my baby staying in the family was a huge comfort to me, and I couldn't imagine a better situation for her, me, and the baby. Fast forward a few days ago. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She's perfect in every way, and I love her more than words can express. My brother and sister-in-law came to visit her in the hospital, and they were absolutely overjoyed. They couldn't stop talking about how much they loved her and how excited they were to finally become parents. Next day, my sister-in-law came to visit with her mother. I had to step out of the hospital room for a few minutes to talk to the doctor, and when I came back, I overheard them talking about me. They were saying horrible things, calling me a loose woman for getting pregnant at such a young age and saying that I didn't deserve to have a baby. They said my sister-in-law should have been the one to get pregnant and give birth, since she's married and older. I was devastated. I couldn't believe they would say such hurtful things about me, especially after everything I've been through. I pretended like I hadn't heard anything, but now I'm having second thoughts about letting them adopt my baby. Will I be an a-hole if I refuse to let my brother and his wife adopt my baby after what I heard her say about me? Well, I think OP has every right to choose what's best for her baby, but I think that in this situation, it's best for the baby to stay in the family. What, OP thinks strangers will be more reliable than her own brother? Yes, I get she's hurt after hearing what her sister-in-law said about her, but she shouldn't think about herself. She should think about the baby and what's best for her. Then she needs to decide about her future relationship with sister-in-law. What would you guys do in OP's situation? And now let's hear the community's opinion. OP, you absolutely won't be the a-hole if you refuse to let your brother and his wife adopt your baby. It's heartbreaking that sister-in-law would say such hurtful things about you, especially after you've made such a selfless decision to give her the gift of parenthood. You deserve to be respected and appreciated, and it's commendable that you're prioritizing your own well-being and the well-being of your baby. Not the a-hole. It's completely understandable why you wouldn't want to let your brother and his wife adopt your baby after what she said about you. Her comments were hurtful and disrespectful, and you have every right to choose a different adoption option for your baby. You were in a tough place and made a tough decision, and she dares to badmouth you like that? She is toxic, and your baby will grow up in a toxic environment. Update. So here's the deal. After a ton of thinking and soul-searching, I've made a very difficult decision. I've decided not to let my brother Jack and his wife Emily adopt my baby girl. It's been a tough call, but I believe it's the right one for my daughter's sake. Let me take you back to the moment when I made this decision. It was a few days after I gave birth, and Jack and Emily came to visit me and the baby at the hospital. They were absolutely thrilled, over the moon with excitement at the thought of finally becoming parents. But amidst the happiness, there was something eating away at me. The hurtful stuff I overheard Emily and her mom saying about me. It hit me like a ton of bricks, so I knew I had to address it. I sat them down and spilled the beans about what I'd heard, and how much it had hurt, and that I will not be giving them my baby to adopt. There were tears for sure, and a whole lot of shock. Jack looked like he had been punched in the gut, and Emily was visibly shaken, her hands trembling as she tried to process what I was saying. They tried to convince me to change my mind, to give them a chance to prove themselves as loving, supportive parents. And as much as it tore me up inside, I stuck to my guns. I just couldn't shake the feeling that my daughter deserved better than to grow up in an environment where her mom wasn't respected. It was a tough conversation, no doubt about it, but I feel like I made the right call. My daughter deserves all the love and support in the world, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure she gets it. Update 2. So after I had that heart-to-heart with Jack and Emily at the hospital, things took a turn for the worse. Jack was furious, and I mean furious. He doesn't believe me that I heard Emily saying those things. He called me a liar and said that he couldn't believe I'd accuse Emily of saying those things about me. He said I did it because I needed an excuse to keep the baby. I was in shock, and now Jack and I aren't on speaking terms anymore. He's pretty much disowned me, and I feel miserable. He was always my rock, my big brother who looked out for me no matter what. He's the only family I have. Losing him feels like losing a piece of myself, you know? I'll be honest, it's been rough. I'm filled with regret and doubt, second-guessing myself at every turn. Did I make the right choice? Should I just have kept my mouth shut and let them adopt my baby anyway? It's eating me up inside, and I can't shake the feeling that I've made a huge mistake. To make matters worse, I've already given my baby up for adoption to another couple. They're great people, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as knowing she'd be with family. It's a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that I've lost my brother and my daughter all in one fell swoop. I'm not in a good place right now, if I'm being honest. I'm struggling to come to terms with everything that's happened, and I'm not sure how to move forward from here. But I'm trying to hold on to the hope that things will get better, that somehow, someday, I'll find peace with the choices I've made. My 21 female sister-in-law, I'll call her Sarah, has been with my brother for about 6 years now. She is 38, my brother is 39. She is very beautiful, and we all got on very well at first, and did everything we could to make her feel welcome. She's made countless comments about me, but there's a character limit, so I'll just quote some here for reference. "Your body is too misshapen for that dress. You sound like you've been smoking for the last 10 years. You should wear contacts for your dull eyes. Your oily skin bothers me. Have you considered lip fillers? I'll pay for you. Online relationships work best for you because they can't see you up close." She would only make the worst of the comments when we were alone, but once she got caught. My brother has a child, 6, male, from a previous relationship, and at one point he actually came in, pushed her away from me, and said, "Sarah, me, is beautiful. Stop talking about her looks." He was being sweet and jokey about it, but it made Sarah really mad. At one point, I caught my mom crying in the bathroom on one of our trips. My mom and dad broke up around 4 years ago, so Sarah used this against her a lot. I won't specify the situations, but these are some of the things she'd say to my mom. "You should consider getting butt implants now you're single, because you won't get a man with a flat cake like that. You shouldn't wear any foundation because you can really see every wrinkle in your skin, and it makes you look older than you already are." But the worst was what she said in front of me and my nephew after that. My nephew gave my mom a hug and said, "Grandma, you're so beautiful," to which Sarah snorted and said, "Yes, beautiful apart from those yellow teeth." Skip to recently. My mom has been trying to get Sarah and my brother to bring my nephew down for a trip, but Sarah has been ignoring her. I checked Mom's phone and realized that Sarah has been ignoring her messages randomly on and off for years now. I messaged my brother and asked him about it. He said Sarah had been trying to talk to my mom, but that she was being ignored. I knew this was a lie. I lost my patience. I told my brother everything about the comments. A few minutes later, I got a message from Sarah saying that she was only trying to be a good sister to me and that she was heartbroken that I'd taken the comments the wrong way. She denied everything and said that it was best if I didn't visit her anymore. My bro told me I was selfish and that I can visit my nephew whenever I want, but that he and Sarah are done with me and my mom. I also found out a few hours ago that Sarah had been trying to persuade my mom to become a gold digger and gave her tips on how to give men just enough to keep them interested, get their money, and then bail. Was I the a-hole? My family thinks I'm lying and that my mom is enabling me to tear the family apart. Edit. This is not the first time I confronted her or told my brother. She would pass it off as helpful advice, give me a cuddle, and move on. My brother said that that's just the way she is because she's passionate about health and beauty. I am not a confrontational person, especially not against someone who was adored by my family. Also, there's a lot of concern for my nephew, and I assure you, he is only with Sarah once a week, and this is not spent alone with him. He has an incredible support system with the rest of his family, and yes, I agree, he is an absolute angel. OP is not the a-hole. OP's sister-in-law is a horrible bully, and OP's brother isn't as innocent in this as he pretends. Obviously, he saw her to be mean to OP at least once and wouldn't be surprised if he noticed what was going on with their mom, or if his son told him something. He's been letting her be mean and is now choosing to enable her cruelty rather than deal with it head on. You aren't tearing the family apart. Sarah is. It's honestly just due to your good nature and your mother's low self-esteem that this hasn't happened earlier. I, 26 male, have an older brother, Jake, 28 male. Basically, our mother died 6 months ago, and in her will, she split her estate, quite a large sum worth over €1 million, in two. My half I received immediately, but my brother's half was held in a trust, with me as the trustee. My mother's wish was for me to keep this money until a time that I thought Jake wouldn't waste it all at once on partying and buying D, but use it productively for his future. Despite my brother being in his late 20s, he still spends all his time clubbing and honestly has never really got his life on track. He never visited our mom on her deathbed, which is something I will always resent him for. Jake was obviously not happy with this and began pestering me to give him the money immediately. He began being really nasty with me and increasingly threatened me to give him the money. I later found out that he had gotten into debt from gambling and had been counting on the money he was going to get from our mother's imminent death to pay it off. I do not feel like this was in line with our mom's wishes, as she wanted me to save the money so that he would spend it on starting a family, deposit on a house, etc. So I refused to give it to him. Me and my brother have a really terrible relationship. He bullied me viciously when we were younger, amongst other things for me being gay, autistic, and adopted. I find his insults particularly hurtful about me being adopted, and this is something he said to me a lot in the last few months. I'm not her real son, therefore I don't deserve any of our mother's inheritance, let alone keeping half from her real son. For my part, I was not happy that our mom had given me the burden of looking after this money, and would rather my mother had just given Jake the money so I would never have to talk to him again. Jake has done lots of things to try to force me to give him his half of the inheritance. The harshest was when he stole our mom's wedding ring from my house when I was hosting our mother's wake. She had left me the ring so that I could propose to my long-term boyfriend. Jake said he would give it back to me if I gave him his half of the inheritance. I didn't, and he ended up pawning the ring. I've been given a job offer from a different country, and I'm going to take it. It will be basically impossible for Jake to contact or visit me. I'm also going to keep the inheritance for myself. This is going against my mom's wishes, which is why I'm likely the a-hole. However, if I gave him the money now, I would also be going against my mom's wishes, and honestly, I can't bear to give him the money after how abusive he has been towards me. I'm not sure what to do. My boyfriend and mom's sister both support me keeping the money, and I think my mother would support the decision too. The only alternative is keeping it in trust forever. For my mental health, I cannot keep in touch with him long term in order to properly fulfill my mother's wishes. I feel bad, but I cannot give my brother the money. Am I the a-hole? Edit. If I gave the money to a third-party administrator, they would immediately have to hand it over to my brother because of the way my mom's will is written. It's quite abstract. Therefore, this is the same as giving him the money now, which is explicitly against her wishes. Edit 2. Yes, I do feel guilty about keeping the money, but I would feel more guilty about giving it to him. My mom said in no uncertain terms that she did not want to give it to my brother in the way he is currently. As I am the only person who can fulfill the spirit of my mother's wish, which I do not want to stay around to do, The only alternative to keeping it I can see is donating it to charity. Edit 3. I've decided I'll keep the money managed and invested and just wait a few years before checking in on him. I don't need the money, so there is literally no like in spending it on myself. I may have been clouded by my anger at my brother. Yes, OP is an a-hole. It wasn't her wish for him to blow it all, but it wasn't her wish for OP to keep it all either. OP's solution just conveniently leaves OP with twice the amount of money. It is not OP's. OP just needs to give him the money and move on. I'm sure there could be a legal consequence if OP spent his portion. I would hope so, considering OP is basically stealing from him. I feel a little uncomfortable writing about this to strangers, but she's so upset, and I truly feel like I've done nothing wrong. I care about her, but he is my son, and to me, his happiness comes before everything. I need some outside perspective. Most of this happened years ago, when my son, who is now 30, was in high school. He had a girlfriend, Beth, he was devoted to. They were together for 3 years. She became almost like a daughter to me. She was a sweet girl, but she had some problems. And there were times when she would treat my son badly, accusing him of cheating on her or intending to leave her. As far as I could tell, these accusations had no basis in reality, and my son was always blindsided, spending hours or days trying to convince her it wasn't true. Often, he would be in tears not knowing what to do. It was awful. Sometimes he asked me for advice, and I would try to help him see that the situation was not sustainable. But in the end, he always managed to talk her round, and they would be okay for some months until the next time. Every time he was convinced it would be the last time, but as far as I could see, she only got worse. I knew speaking against her wouldn't work, but I hoped once he went away to college, he might gain some perspective. So when they started talking about getting married straight after graduation, I was very concerned. I decided to offer him a deal, that if he would hold off marrying her until after college, I would fund him completely so he would not have to go into debt, which I pointed out would give them a better start together. He accepted, and within 6 months of him leaving, she was pregnant by someone else and he was alone. I was relieved but sad to see how things went for her. She had 2 kids in 2 years with 2 different men, neither of whom stuck around. I was in touch with her a bit and gave her money a couple of times. For a while, she was mostly stable, but after having her 3rd child and getting left again, she had a breakdown and was looking at having her kids taken away. It broke my heart, because she really is a sweet soul and such a devoted mother. Seeing as she had no one else, I offered to let her live with me till she got back on her feet. And yes, I did ask my son. He moved across the country to work and is now happily settled, a wonderful partner. He says he considers Beth family, is happy for me to help as I see fit. Although things have been difficult all around, what with the virus, the kids are a joy, and Beth and I were good friends. She has a new job and is taking evening classes. All was well until my sister visited and had a silly tiff with Beth, culminating in her telling Beth I was the reason my son didn't marry her at the end of high school. She had a complete meltdown, calling me manipulative, treacherous, evil, jealous, saying I stole the love of her life, even implying I had inappropriate feelings for my son. She now hasn't spoken one word to me in a week. I'm at my wit's end. OP is not an a-hole. OP can point out that she never forbade her son from marrying her. She just asked him to go to college. They broke up because of her actions, not OP's. That said, if she was accusatory and vindictive with OP's son, it shouldn't surprise OP when she ultimately turns accusatory and vindictive towards her. That's a part of her personality. She's not going to see OP as the kind-hearted mother figure who gave her money, a place to stay, love, and support. She'll wind up seeing OP as just another person who betrays her, because that seems to be her pattern with the entire world. Also, what the duck was OP's sister thinking? Now, that's an a-hole.